Hi, everybody. Welcome to Hanging Out with Matt and Mimi. We are here every Wednesday at 4 p.m., so please feel free to keep coming back. I'm Becca.
I'm Mira, and we are joined today by the awesome Sally Lehman from GitHub. Hi, Sally.
Hi, guys.
Thank you so much for joining us today. So what I'm wondering is if we can start off, if you just tell us a little bit about what GitHub does, what it is, and what you do for them.
Oh, okay. GitHub is a place to store code that is social. So it's sort of like Facebook for nerds. And you get to work with other people on your code and share different snippets, and it's very powerful, and it's very awesome because it supports a lot of open source, which is a very awesome way it's sharing code without commercialization. So it's really awesome.
Cool.
Awesome. So do you like it over there?
Oh, yeah. I work at home, but I visit the office, and I like working over chat, just like you guys do at Mimi.
Yeah, it works very well. Cool. All right, so guys, people who are watching, if you want to ask Sally or either of us any questions, just hit that Q&A button on the left of your screen, and we will be happy to do that. So, Sally, I guess you've been working in email delivery and email marketing and sort of the email sphere for a very long time, since 2009, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Cool. So what do you like most about it? What about email really makes you happy and makes you interested, I guess?
Email is not perfect. It's got lots of problems. Spam is huge, but and it's older. But what I like about it is its functionality. It is your identity on the internet. There's so much that you can do with email. So even though it's broken in a lot of ways, it's really central to people being able to use the internet in a meaningful way. So that's why I like it.
Nice.
Awesome. So it is sort of like your ability to connect with other people, kind of like social programming. Except if you're not a social programmer, or you're not a programmer, then you can still send emails.
Yeah, it just allows, like, if you don't have some sort of identity, email allows you to do that. And even though there's a lot of vulnerabilities, it's still it's what we use right now, and so we gotta do the best we can and make it secure and the quality experience. So
I agree wholeheartedly. So we work in email. I mean, we live and breathe email every day. But I think to many people, it's sort of a send button and then an inbox where that email then goes. And what I was wondering is if you can kind of give us a little crash course, sort of email delivery 101, and just sort of explain what is it that happens after I hit send and before I receive that email in my inbox.
Sure. So the domain on the end of the email, that's what's after the @ sign, are you still there? Or you grayed out of it there?
Yep, we're here.
Okay.
You're coming back.
There's something called an MX record, and that's in DNS, so the same stuff that allows you to type in google.com and pull up a website. That same system has something called MX record, so you look up the MX record for that domain, usually, and you can open your email client will open a connection and send using that MX record, and it follows a specific protocol, and I don't want to get too deep, but it follows the SMTP protocol to transfer the mail, and it may take a couple hops, or it may take lots of hops, because it has to get from you to to a receiving server, and then it might hop to another computer. It may hop to one or two computers, or it may hop to lots on the way there.
And who owns these computers that it's hopping between? I mean, besides me sending and the person who receives it, maybe it's Gmail, maybe it's Yahoo, maybe it's whatever. But where are these computers? They're like sort of, conceptually.
Everywhere.
Awesome.
So you're going through ISPs, you're going through your ISP, you're going through, it's a internet protocol just like the internet protocol you use for visiting on a browser, or similar to it. So that's the same system where you have to make lots of hops before you get to the end.
So is it sort of, I mean, totally correct me if I'm wrong, this is your expertise domain, but is it a little bit like when, I mean, like you mentioned, like when I'm surfing the internet, if I go from site to site, is it sort of a similar function that the email is sort of kind of surfing along and then eventually has a destination?
Right.
Nice.
All right, we got it.
You mentioned that it goes sort of like from computer to computer, and there might be more steps along the way. Does that have anything to do with how fast your email gets sent, or what are the other factors that might contribute to like how quickly an email gets from me to you, or vice versa?
It does. That can have a factor in how long it takes, but usually the places where an email gets slowed down is most likely to be right as you're sending it, or right as the person is, or right before the person is receiving it, where it's going through filters or their inbound mail system or something like that.
Gotcha.
So what are the things that, I mean, or are there anything that, is there anything that people can do? Because that all sounds like it sort of is in that hop process that the email is doing, right? That you don't really have a lot of control over that. But in terms of sending speed, like Becca asked, is there anything that people can do or can think about when they're creating their emails that can affect that sending speed?
I think I think it's probably not the best idea to concentrate on that when you're creating an email. The two things that I would concentrate on for speed, if you're going to concentrate on something when you're creating the email, is make sure that you don't have a lot of content that's going to take time to download. That's actually happens on the end, but that still takes longer. And also as far as delivery is concerned, Laura Wise has a great comment she made once of thinking of email as someone's home. So when you go to a home, you are respectful of that person's space. So when you send an email, your goal is to contribute something to win the person over to be kind and respectful. And I think that's a really good way of thinking about things. If you're looking to speed the time with which your email gets to someone's inbox.
I really love that metaphor about it being somebody's home and that you're respectful of going there, of what you send there, of what you bring in, what you take out. That is an excellent metaphor, because I think of sending health and sort of sending responsibly as sort of like email karma. It's like, just send to people who have asked to receive your emails, and everything will be fine, in the opt-in sphere. But that metaphor of it being someone else's home is really nice. I really appreciate that one.
Yeah, it's like you don't show up to a party without being invited, and you don't show up without bringing a bottle of wine.
So include a bottle of wine in all of your emails.
I wouldn't say no to that.
Right.
So speaking of sort of respecting people's home, and I guess sort of respecting the inbox space, it sounds like there are some people out there that are trying to help sort of keep a watch on those things. So like spam watch organizations, like block lists and things like that. Can you tell us a little bit about how they work, or what they're looking out for, and in terms of that inbox space, what they're protecting or trying to keep out of it?
There are an extremely wide range of block lists. And they range from people just in their home who made a list of people sending email or IPs sending email that they didn't want to receive. And sometimes they'll share them with friends. That's actually how the first blacklist started, is where you're just sharing like that. And then there's stuff
it was just private people, sorry to interrupt, but just someone who sort of wanted to take a stand on that kind of behavior?
So there were network, I could be wrong about the very beginning, but I know that plenty of block lists did start with network administrators trying to cut down on spam, and they noticed that came from particular IPs, IP addresses, or particular domains. And so they would make a list of those, and then if someone tried to make a connection from those places, then they wouldn't accept them. And then they would share with each other. So that way the other person didn't have to learn which ones were bad or had to, because so that was developed on trust, and it's still that way, where you learn a person uses a block list because they learned that block list tends to find the right, or tends to identify the right senders as people they don't want to get mail from, and it's really that simple now. Does this list contain people that I don't want to get mail from or not?
So it's aptly named then too, because they would just literally block this list of people from sending emails into their own inboxes, right?
Yeah, and nowadays it's you may use a combination. It's really necessary to actually use these now because of how quickly spammers change their IP addresses and domains. How many there are and how much is getting sent. There's just no way you could do it yourself. So that's a main reason for using them now. And since you may not trust, and not every block list has the whole truth, so you may use some of each, and you may not use completely block email because of that. You may, like we were talking about, how to get email to send fast. There's something called gray listing where your email is slowed down, and that's just to give the inbound filter some time to figure out whether the mail is mailed. And and that can be done through the way that people respond to that mail on the other end, like other recipients. So that's one reason it might slow down.
Okay, and so that is people who are receiving the email reporting that it's not something that they requested, for example. Right. Okay. Now you mentioned that it would slow it down in order for the inbound filter to have time to think about it and figure out what's going on. Can you tell me a little bit about what that filter is doing while it's thinking about it?
Well, it's collecting that data from, so it may deliver some of those mails, but not all of them. Sometimes gray listing is just, it can be used maliciously just to slow and eventually reject the mail. So that's another way. As far as processing is concerned, I think that happens, but I'm not sure. I think gray listing is more to just deliver a couple mails, figure out how it's being treated by people who are receiving that mail, and then make a decision.
Understood, right, so it's based on what's happening.
Yeah. Now that I think about it, another reason is it can be waiting long enough so that block lists that do collect information on an IP or a domain, it can check and see, did that person get this mail I got, did their identity get listed somewhere? And then
so it gives it time for a background check, sort of.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, I mean, it may just be as simple as treating your email like somebody else's home. But are there tips that you can share with us and folks watching for avoiding any of this kind of stuff?
Sure. One thing that's important is to establish an identity for yourself. The clearer, the something that is suspicious in email is being new and being unrecognized. You want to use the same domain names. You want to use the same from address. You want to use similar formats of subject lines and content. And it's also good to vary that if you're trying to segment your mail, if you're trying to say, here's my one part of my business, here's another part, it's good to separate those some. But everything, if you look the same, you come from the same place, all of those things are indicators that you're the same thing that they were getting before. So if you're new, you should be cautious, but you should try to use the same identity and just build that up over time. The more goodwill you get from email that has the identity of all those factors, the better.
Now, does sending volume affect that right at the beginning? I mean, so you say starting up and just building that goodwill right from the beginning and really maintaining a specific identity. Let's say I'm just starting out and I haven't sent anything. I've just established my own domain for my business, and I have 10,000 opted-in folks. Let's just say, and if I email all of them at once, is that suspicious? Just on the basis of volume?
If you're sending from your own IP, or you're this is where an ESP can be a good idea.
And can you tell us what an ESP is?
Sure. Mimi is an email service provider. So yes, you can use your own IP and send off a whole bunch of emails at once, and you may be okay. But with an ESP already has a reputation. So when you send through someone like Mimi, you are sharing when the email is received, both Mimi's reputation and your reputation are considered when receiving that piece of mail.
So like it would be basically that, even if your content is brand new, our IPs won't be seen as brand new because they've been around for a while and building up goodwill. So it sort of helps get you delivered faster because it's not as brand new.
Right. And so if anyone tells you sending through an IP or through an email service provider that it's just their reputation, that's wrong. If anybody says it's just your reputation, that's wrong. It's a mix, and you can't. There are sometimes delivery problems that happen as a result of either one of those reputations, but it's usually a mixture of those.
Interesting. Cool. I don't know if we have any questions. I don't see any questions in the Q&A box. Do you see any, Mira?
No, I'm not seeing any. How about, now, we've mentioned filters a little bit. Spam filters, not, something being blocked from an inbox, from being delivered into the inbox. Maybe can you give us an overview of how those filter, or maybe it's very wildly varied and it's all different? I don't know.
Well, it is, but I can give you some definitions. So email used to be, before filters got really advanced and before email providers started watching the way that people respond to emails in the inbox in a very dynamic sort of way, and customizing people's inboxes to the way they respond to particular emails and people like them. It was just based on IP. So it would be just, if you're sending through Mimi, it would be based on what email looks like spam coming from the sending IP of Mimi or somewhere else. And it may not even be spam, it may just look like spam or something like that. So and that's only because they didn't have a lot of tooling. So nowadays it's a mix of content, it's a mix of IP. So the filter is grabbing that information, and it's grabbing the information from what people click on or don't click on in the inbox. And that's most true for the common email providers like Gmail and Hotmail and Yahoo, and places like that. When you get to smaller domains, then you may be looking at more simplistic filters. But it's a good thing to just think about all providers like that, just so that it encourages the right sort of behavior, because you're doing things that make people want to get your mail in the first place, and so you'll be encouraging postmasters when they get complaints from people inside their domain. Hey, why is my email? I'm expecting an email from these guys. Where is it? So that sort of stuff. If your email is wanted enough, you can. It gives your work is done for you for delivery, because people are looking and looking to get that.
I definitely say it sounds like it's a better thing to have people asking their postmasters to receive your mail as opposed to them saying, I don't want this, where did this come from? So it all comes back around sort of to that whole respecting the space and delivering what people have actually asked for.
And of course, your average person has no idea how to get a hold of the postmaster, but they will be opening and clicking the email which the postmaster is likely to see.
Yeah. Cool.
Right. And that, again, it's all based on that activity of the recipient, and what are they doing with the email, and how does that feed back then to your reputation. Mm-hmm. So cool. Are there? I mean, can you give us some sort of basic tips in case people are just starting out, just whipping up their first email that people asked for? What are some things that maybe they should avoid or consider including, or just some good tips on not accidentally getting filtered?
Okay. I would not shorten your links.
Okay.
There are link shorteners. Some people think, oh, I'll put that in the email. It'll be easier for people to get to whatever I'm showing them.
Right.
And what happens is those link shorteners are really abused by malware, but I have not yet found a link shortener, at least in the recent past, that is not very, very heavily abused that way. So, and as a result, they are also emails just having one of those links can be dropped or filtered out as a result.
Okay, so that's a good tip.
But just don't use them. It's for now.
Until things change.
Yeah, and don't use a lot of it's good to have content that a email filter can read or scans. You generally want if you're going to have images in your email, you need a balance of images and text.
Okay, great.
That's another good thing to do. It either all text or a balance of images of text. Right?
So meaning like not just images.
Right.
Yeah. Okay, great.
And that works I think for your readers too, not just for the spam filters themselves. I think getting an email, especially if you have one of those domains where the pictures don't display automatically, it helps to have some text that lets you know what the email is that you're receiving, as opposed to just a big blank image that you have no reason to display in the first place. So it always works for a few different reasons. So awesome.
Right. Good tips. Cool. Is there anything else that maybe we skipped that you were expecting or that you think people should hear, or anything else you want to share with us?
Well, I think we went over to the basics here. So if we ever want to get deeper into things like which specific block list, that could be something we could go over.
Yeah, absolutely. We'd love to have you back to talk about more stuff like that.
But awesome. I think we did cover the basics. You guys have good questions.
Well, thank you. Apparently they're so good, nobody else has any more. So, yeah, so thank you so much for joining us, Sally. You can catch up with Sally over at GitHub. She's at ROTHSA over there, or on Twitter at SLLYLHMN, which would be her name with no vowels. So thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks, Mira and Becca.
Thanks, Sally. Thank you.
Okay.
Bye.
And yeah, and thank you everyone else for watching. And you'll be able to watch this on our YouTube channel. You can watch our other episodes there as well. And join us next Wednesday at 4. We'll be here hanging out with Mad Mimi.
All right. Bye.